The story begins when undercover police are set to bust a heroin deal going down in a nightclub. However, their mission goes south when Hyo-jong, a dancer at the clubs, steals the drugs and escapes with her boyfriend, leaving the police wondering who took them. The next day, our protagonist Tae-sik heads to his pawn shop when he notices his neighbor's daughter Sumi hiding under the stairs. Sumi follows him and starts talking about her time in school, even though Tae-sik barely pays her any attention. She pawns off her MP3 player for some cash and tells him how hungry she is. They head to Tae-sik's apartment, where he feeds her some rice. Suddenly, Sumi's mom calls out for her, so Sumi hides under the table. Her mom is Hyo-jong, the dancer from the club, and Tae-sik lies that Sumi isn't with him. Afterward, Hyo-jong pawns off a camera to Tae-sik and warns him not to lay his hands on her daughter. However, she tells him he should ask her out sometime and they could sleep together after. Meanwhile, Myung-gu scolds Man-sik for screwing up the heroin job at the nightclub. He then gives Man-sik 3 days for him and his brother to recover the drugs, or else they'll be killed. At the same time, Hyo-jong refuses to tell her partner where the drugs are, so the man warns her that she's messing with the wrong people. After he leaves, Sumi listens to her mom inject herself like she usually does. Unable to bear it any longer, Sumi goes over to Tae-sik's apartment to sleep. There, she reveals that her nickname is Garbage Can because her mom kicked one when she found out she was pregnant. The next morning, Tae-sik finds a note from Sumi telling him she left a cute sticker on his nail, which makes him smile. He goes about his day, but when he returns, he finds Sumi being accused of stealing. Sumi points Tae-sik out as her dad, but when the cops try to talk to him, he walks away. Meanwhile, Man-sik calls his brother Jong-suk, who was busy partying while Man-sik was getting face slapped. Man-sik then tasks Jong-suk with finding the dancer who stole the drugs. At the same time, Tae-sik watches Sumi steal from an old man, but the man doesn't mind since he knows how messed up her mother is. After that, Sumi asks Tae-sik for her MP3 player back and exchanges it for a card that she calls her most prized possession. Before she walks off, she asks if he pretended not to know her because he's embarrassed by her. However, she says she can't bring herself to hate him since she'll have no one left to like in this world. When Sumi returns to her apartment, she finds her mom tied up by Jong-suk, who tortures her for the location of the drugs. Later, Tae-sik finds some men in his apartment asking for what he took. When they see Tae-sik isn't an ordinary man, they call for backup, and a man named Ran-roan shows up and hands him a phone. Jong-suk tells Tae-sik to hand over the camera if he wants to save Sumi and her mom, so Tae-sik cooperates and hands it over. After they confirm the drugs are inside, they shoot one of Myung-gu's men and leave. Tae-sik tries to run after them while Sumi calls out to him, but he isn't fast enough to reach her. Later, Tae-sik gets a call asking him to run an errand if he wants to save the girls. They direct him to a car which he drives downtown to pick up a package from a locker. Afterwards, Jong-suk tells him where to deliver the package and promises to drop the girls off at a restaurant later. Tae-sik quickly goes to meet with Myung-gu, who mistakes him for someone else. When Tae-sik pulls out the drugs from Jong-suk, they realize they've been set up as the police surround the building. The men beat up Tae-sik and toss him over the building where he lands on a net. Tae-sik notices Myung-gu trying to get away, so he gets in his car to chase him till they crash into each other. Myung-gu gets out and runs, but when Tae-sik gets out to follow him, he discovers Sumi's mom in the trunk of the car with all her organs taken out. The police surround him, and when they see the body, they take him into custody. Later, Tae-sik is held for questioning while Detective Kim and Detective No try to find out who he is, but nothing turns up. Back in the office, Tae-sik spots the card Sumi gave him and realizes he needs to save her. Moments later, Detective No finds some of the officers have been taken out and Tae-sik has escaped. Meanwhile, Sumi gets dropped off with an old woman who tells her to come along if she wants to see her mom. However, when they head upstairs, the grandma locks Sumi in a room with other little girls. Back at the station, Detective Kim and No review the footage of Tae-sik taking out all their men and wonder who on earth he is. One of the officers suggests a way to find his files by getting the US involved, so he sends an email threatening to kill them. Meanwhile, Jong-suk tells his brother that Ran-roan has gone off on his own to kill Myung-gu and his men. As they speak, Myung-gu begs Ran-roan to spare him, offering to pay him more than the brothers, but Ran-roan ignores his pleas and kills him. At the same time, Detective Kim and Detective No went to Tae-sik's apartment, but can't figure out how he's connected to Myung-gu. Just then, their colleague calls and says they finally found his files. According to their intel, Tae-sik was an agent for a special OP military intelligence body with lethal martial arts skills. His records stop after Tae-sik was hospitalized for a car accident where his wife died while he was transferred to a military hospital. At the same time, Tae-sik traces the seller of the phone Jong-suk's men left with him, so Tae-sik forces him to show him to his boss. After taking the man hostage, they head to a club to corner Jong-suk's right-hand man, who tells them Sumi has been sold to an ant tunnel. Ram Rowan shows up and fights Tae-sik in the bathroom. The men seem evenly matched and end up retreating to the club, where they stare each other down. However, before they can continue, Man-sik tells Ram Rowan to stand down. Then they toss another phone on the floor and escape. Tae-sik grabs the phone and runs after them, but he can't catch up because he's injured. He then goes to steal a car nearby just as Detective Kim shows up and shoots him. However, it's already too late, and Tae-sik gets away. Man-sik calls Tae-sik, surprised that he managed to escape the police. When Tae-sik asks for Sumi, Man-sik says her organs aren't yet ripe to be harvested. Tae-sik then promises him that they stand no chance against him and he'll make them pay. Afterwards, Tae-sik drives to an old friend's place who helps get the bullet out and treat his wounds. As Tae-sik bears the pain, he remembers the day he met his wife at the hospital and found out she was pregnant. Some months later, Tae-sik was checking out baby stuff while his wife waited in the car. Suddenly, a truck crashed into the car while Tae-sik stared in shock. A man shot at him, hoping to kill him, but before he could finish the job, more agents came to Tae-sik's aid, but all he cared about was his wife and his baby that no one was paying attention to. In the present, Tae-sik asks his friend for a gun, but his friend advises him not to go back in since he was close to dying. However, Tae-sik insisted there was someone he had to save. In preparation, Tae-sik cuts his hair and is about to head out when Detective Kim calls him. Detective Kim warns that he'll catch him, but since he's looking for Sumi, he gives him a tip of where she was last spotted. In return, Tae-sik tells him Jong-suk and Man-sik were the ones who set Myung-gu up and were responsible for the dead body in the trunk. Back at the granny's house, one of the girls says her goodbyes to the rest, thinking she's finally returning to her mom. She thanks Sumi for the stickers on her nails and leaves excitedly. Sumi then notices a wound on Ram Rowan, places a band-aid on it. Then she asks if she'll really be able to see her mom again, but Ram Rowan is left speechless. Meanwhile, Tae-sik begins to track the children who are using toys as a cover for delivering drugs and withdrawing money from stolen credit cards. However, the police notice Tae-sik and chase after him, but he's able to steal a car and get away. That night, Tae-sik finds the base for organ trafficking. There, Jong-suk forces some kids to help them, but none of them turn out to be Sumi. When he checks the morgue, he finds Myung-gu's body and the body of the girl who left the granny's house earlier that day. Angered, Tae-sik starts taking out the men till it's only Jong-suk left. Tae-sik ties him up and shoots nails in his legs while he calls Man-sik and asks him to deliver Sumi in an hour. Man-sik says he doesn't know who he's dealing with and tells one of his men to have Sumi's eyes gouged out. Meanwhile, Tae-sik sets the building up to explode as he asks how Jong-suk could be cruel enough to do such evil things to kids. Jong-suk warns that if anything happens to him, he'll never see Sumi again. However, Tae-sik tells him that even if he had Sumi, he and his brother would still have to die. Tae-sik then dials Detective Kim's number and lets him hear the explosion as Jong-suk is killed. He then hands the phone to one of the kids and advises them to go back to their moms. Meanwhile, Ram Rowan takes Sumi to the man who cut her mother's organs out. Sumi turns to Ram Rowan and begs him to say it's a lie while she cries. At the same time, the police find the granny's house and rescue all the kids while Sumi is strapped to a table where the man is about to take out her eyes. Later, Tae-sik finds Man-sik and his men at their hideout and asks where Sumi is. Man-sik tosses him a canister with eyes and reminds him he messed with the wrong man. Tae-sik can't believe what he's seeing, so he turns to Man-sik and promises to leave nothing left of him. Immediately, Man-sik's men start to attack Tae-sik while Ram Rowan shoots at him. However, when Ram Rowan sees Tae-sik taking out every single man, he stops shooting till the rest of the men are dead. Tae-sik walks to the canisters, since it's all he has left of Sumi, but Ram Rowan shoots at it to get Tae-sik's attention. Now that it's just the two of them, Ram Rowan pulls out his blade for a rematch, and the two men go up against each other. However, Tae-sik ends up winning the fight and stabbing Ram Rowan in the chest. Next, Tae-sik goes after Man-sik who tries to get away in a car, so Tae-sik shoots at the tires, causing the car to crash. With nowhere else to run, Man-sik calls the police and tells them to head to his location, while Tae-sik discovers the car is bulletproof. Man-sik brags that Tae-sik can shoot all he wants, thinking he's safe. At this, Tae-sik places the gun at point-blank range and shoots all his rounds till it finally breaks through the glass and kills Man-sik. Now that he's done with his mission, Tae-sik thinks of the last time he saw Sumi and tries to shoot himself when he hears her call out for him. Sumi runs to hug him as she realizes he came all this way to save her. Later, the police finally have Tae-sik in custody while they find the body of the man whose eyes were removed. Detective Kim lets Sumi ride with Tae-sik on the way to the station, and when she falls asleep, Tae-sik asks him for a favor. They return to the old man's shop, and Tae-sik buys some supplies for Sumi. He apologizes for turning away from her the other day and asks to hug her just this once. Sumi gladly stretches her arms and hugs Tae-sik, who cries as he hugs her for the last time.